We're looking live at New York City, where the defense is delivering arguments in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial, although in a different part of town. 7 weeks after jurors were first seated for the case, and one of Combs' lead defense attorneys, Mark Agnifilo, arguing the prosecution badly exaggerated Combs' lifestyle, painting the allegations as sensationalized and claiming there was no criminal enterprise. Now, he went on to mock the emphasis on items like baby oil, calling it a fake trial. Prosecutors making a surprising move earlier this week, dropping several charges against the rapper, including attempted kidnapping, attempted arson, and aiding and abetting sex trafficking, all dropped. Now, while the racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation for prostitution charges still remain. Prosecutor Christy Slavic telling jurors Combs knew exactly what he was doing. Now, the mogul did not take the stand, with the defense calling not one witness. The prosecution, however, called 34 witnesses, while the Bad Boy Records founder is the focus of the case. The name of Diddy's former chief of staff, Christina Coram, cannot be ignored. Now, a 2024 lawsuit going as far to compare to Jeffrey Epstein's right-hand woman, Ghislaine Maxwell. While she was brought up throughout witnesses' testimony, she never testified it and has not been charged. And of course, we've been following this trial closely as it is wrapping up. And joining us now to discuss, high-profile attorney Gloria Allred, who has represented clients including the family of Nicole Brown Simpson, Bill Cosby accusers, and is currently representing Talia Graves, who is accusing Combs of sexual assault stemming from a 2001 incident. Quite an introduction. Gloria, Ms. Allred, thank you so much for joining us here on American Agenda. With those charges being dropped against Diddy and a lot of people claiming, including the defense, that he was way overcharged, how do you see the outcome going? Is he going to get any jail time? Will there be anything against him that's going to come out of this?
Well, of course, zero if he's acquitted, possibly life in prison if he is convicted. It's the prosecution's burden to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. Both the prosecution and defense gave their arguments. The defense is trying to characterize this, in their words, as a modern love story, as a tale of swingers, and suggesting that Cassie Ventura, who of course was alleged to be a victim in this case, we all saw him beating her on the video that was released. They're calling her names. The defense called her a gangster, suggesting that she consented. That, of course, is not what the prosecution alleges. So you're correct. The defense did not put on any witnesses. They did submit into evidence and have admitted some texts and some other items, but it is not their duty to put on a defense. Mr. Combs, the defendant, chose to invoke his Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and not testify. That cannot be held against him. That was his right. And so there's the case. Of course, the defense only needs one juror to decide that that juror will not convict, and then there would be a mistrial. But there needs to be unanimity in order to convict. There's serious charges still, even though some have been excluded or dismissed. There's still the sex trafficking by coercion or force or fraud. There's more than one alleged victim beside Cassie. There are others, Jane, alleged Mia, and so others. And we'll have to see which narrative, the prosecution or the defense, is persuasive to the jury, because the jury, they're the ultimate finders of fact.
Gloria, let me ask you, the defense to not call any witnesses, what do you think of that?
Well, I don't know who they would have called. As you mentioned earlier in the segment, more than 30 witnesses were called by the prosecution. So apparently they didn't have any they thought, would be helpful to them. So they didn't have a duty to admit anything or to call any witnesses. What they did is try to make a Swiss cheese argument out of the prosecution and say this was all about love. I mean, as a victims' rights advocate, frankly, I don't know how you can say it's all about love